All right, y'all, welcome back to the Black Mind Garden, where we are remapping minds so you can create a life you design. I am super excited for the guests that I have today. We met, interestingly enough, on Clubhouse,
Yeah.
in the rooms with one of our mutual friends and colleagues, Dr. Omar Medime, who has actually been on the show, you guys.
Yeah.
And I just love this sister. She's a sister doc like me. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring her so that she can talk about herself and we can get into the topic. Dr. Ijeoma Opara, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Ah, sis, thank you so much. I appreciate that beautiful rendition. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm so glad to be in the presence of greatness this morning, which is you.
Oh,
And so thanks for having me.
listen, like attracts like. Yes,
Amen.
let me adjust
Amen.
your crown. Let me adjust your crown.
All day, all day. That's what we do for each other.
That's what we
Amen
do
to
for each
that.
other. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to have the audience know who you are. I want to
Okay.
have them, sort of get a little backstory of the kind of work that you do,
Mhm.
especially in equity and inclusion and anti-racism,
Yeah.
because this is important in our community that people know that we are out here doing the work, and there's work to be done inside of our community as well, which we're talking about today.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, thanks for that. So I'll start off with talking about my purpose statement. I believe that we are all designed with purpose. We're all created by a loving creator with purpose.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, for me, begins and drives many of the things that I do. So my purpose statement ultimately is I am, Dr. Ijeoma Nadim, or my name rather, because I'm more than what I do. We're more than what we do. So
That's
my
right.
name is Dr. Ijeoma Nadim Opara. My purpose in this world really is to embody joy, abundance, and freedom, and to fight for justice so that all Black people can live and thrive freely and prosper. It just really comes down to that
Mhm.
for me. And so inside of that, what I do is that I help Black folks and Black communities and Black families live their healthiest and best lives by providing primary care that is culturally humble, that is evidence based, and that is compassionate and empathetic. I
Mhm.
also help organizations to prosper by better meeting their bottom line and their mission statement, by creating healing environments that center Black folks, essentially.
Mhm.
That's and inside of that, equity and justice and anti-racism. And so I do that through consulting, I do that through speaking, I do that through moderation and facilitation of sessions, I do that through workshops, etc. So
Yes.
that's kind of a sort of a summary statement of what I do inside of my academic job, where I'm located at Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan, 313.
Detroit.
Detroit. The greatest city, man, Motor City, Motown. And so, I'm an assistant professor at the School of Medicine, so I do a lot of teaching,
Mhm.
curriculum development, and mentoring of medical students, pre-medical students as well, physician residents, as well as faculty development work. And again, the focus inside of that is equity, justice, anti-racism, decolonization as well.
Yeah.
I founded and directed our Health Equity and Justice in Medicine initiative, which is called, the acronym is HEDGM, in case you hear that around,
Mhm.
and our Global Health Alliance and Global Local Urban Health Equity Program. I'm a co-founding director of that, and so I do that, and then of course research, advocacy, policy, and other work that I do to again move the needle when it comes to health equity and justice, so that Black people and people of African descent can thrive and prosper.
I love it. And what I love is that you are touching at so many levels, right? At the academic and organizational level, at the
Mhm.
community level, at the individual level, in the
Yeah.
facilitation that you do. And it's so important because I think that sometimes people get, we as a community get locked into it's a systemic and organizational thing, which it
Yeah.
is, but
Yeah.
the system is made up of people,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
And that's the angle that I come from, is that yes, at the systemic level, this has to be broken down. And then who makes up the system? The people. And if
Yeah.
the people in the system don't shift and change their
Yeah.
mindset, including us,
Yeah.
right? Including us,
Yeah.
then nothing is gonna get done.
And Sister Maiysha, I have to give you credit. You really helped me to see that clearly. I am a systems person. I'm someone, I talk about systemic oppression,
Right.
structural oppression all the time, because it is a system and it is about structures.
Absolutely.
However, you really did help me see more clearly that, those systems and structures are upheld by people. They are maintained by people. They are reproduced by people. And we do that through the decisions that we make every day.
That's right.
And so, and those decisions are driven by our beliefs and our values and, and our knowledge or the lack thereof of all those things. So I appreciate you for that. That is true. It truly is a marriage of both. And
It is.
we have to marry and manage both. And to me, that's liberating. And I didn't mention this word, but liberation is ultimately what I'm working towards. When I talk about where Black people can thrive and prosper, it's really a state of liberation, right?
Absolutely.
And it is liberating, because when you reach sort of barriers, right, or walls, while you're trying to work with people, and people are just busy being people and being stubborn and resistant,
right.
You can remind yourself, wait a minute, this is about systems. I'm going to be addressing policies. I can pivot to address policies or change policies, address laws or change laws. I can pivot to that, and that kind of takes away that sort of strain and stress a little bit of when you're kind of hitting your head against the wall when it comes to people,
right.
And vice versa, when you're hitting your head against the wall when it comes to systems and structures and policies and legislation and managing all those dynamics, you can sometimes just make it human and just get to the people level and sort of, take a break from that and say, okay, woman to woman, man to man, woman to man, man to woman, whatever, human to human. Right. Let's talk about those things that make us human, and what do these changes mean to make us as humans better, right? Just get on that core level. I think it's a beautiful and powerful place to get to, where we can manage and navigate both as intersectional and interdependent systems and structures and the people individual level.
I love how you language that. I love it. It's that flexibility of behavior, right? It's that fluidity, which we're talking about today. That fluidity, girl. You like how I brought that in? You like how I brought that in? Yes, it is. It really is that fluidity. And one of the things inside of that, and here's the thing, we can talk about the fluidity of approaching the work, and I'm gonna not backtrack, but sidebar a little bit, because one of the things when I first stepped into this work, when the deaths, the murders of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd happened a year ago, now, I was sick. Like, what is mine to do? Where can I impact? And at the time, I didn't have the systemic connections, the organizational connections.
Yeah.
So it was working with the people. Like that's what it became for me. It's like, okay, well, I can help at the individual level. And as I've come to now get inside of organizations, various organizations, and work inside of organizations, I still keep that mindset of it's top down and bottom up. Like we meet in the middle. It's individual and it's organizational. And there's so many ways, like there's so many opportunities for people to step into the work wherever they are. And that's kind of the thing that helped me to step in, because it's like, well, there's a place for everyone. And wherever you step in is where you step in. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. There's a stepping in and stepping forward so that your voice is heard, and that you each one teach one, even if it's your neighbor or your teacher or your principal at your school, if you're a parent, right? Which we both are, So that came to me as you were speaking, right? That fluidity to be able to step in where you are, to having your voice be heard in activism in the way that works for you.
In the way that works for you. And it's that both and, like there is liberation in the both and. It doesn't have to be either or, like that binary type of thinking is so rigid and limiting and in a way daunting, right?
Yes.
And in a way therefore inhibiting or obstructive to progress, because then you're caught up in, well, it's either this or is that, or if I don't do this, then I'm not doing the work. And then if I'm doing this, and it's like, no, it's fine. It's both and.
Right.
It is, like you said, a top bottom and bottom up.
Right.
I really reject, again, and part of this is linked to, and all of these are connected, sis, to like the fluidity and all that other stuff, which is limiting beliefs, right? Which is this scarcity mindset.
Yes.
Oh, if you don't do this, then you are not doing it at all. No, we are all gifted with different talents and strengths, and each of us are on our own sort of journey. So just because you're not as loud and rambunctious and seemingly fearless as somebody like you might admire, that doesn't mean you cannot, in your own little sphere, I won't even say little in terms of significance, but little in terms of maybe scale or scope, in your scope where you are in the world, even is literally what I'm going to teach, even if it's as on the scale of my little ones, my 7 and 5-year-old that teaches my 2.5-year-old that, no, you can watch more cartoons that have brown people that look like us.
Yes.
Because my little one was watching all these like Caillou and all these other cartoons, and all of them are very, white. Right. We know majority of children's shows and books are unfortunately very highly non-diverse. And I've been teaching my kids, I'm being intentional about exposing them to our images, positive images, Duck McStuffins, and so many other different cartoons that come up from all over the world that have brown people. And the littlest one though, sometimes, and I admit this, and it's something we're working on, she gets on the device on her own and she starts finding all these videos. And the 7 and the 5-year-old notice and be like, Chimamanda, there are other shows that have people that look like us. And she's like, no, they're not. And then they have to teach her. No, there's this like Duck McStuffins, and they bring up some other examples. Even that, those are powerful moments. If children can see children on their own, their siblings, we don't have to be the president of the NAACP or the Black Caucus to like move mountains. Those little babies are moving mountains on their own. So we are all gifted and with talents and gifting and strengths, and we are at different levels of the journey. Some folks have gotten to where they don't have no more F's to give, so they're out here like, look. And then you have folks that still are more cautious, hesitant, because they're just learning, they're just beginning this process. They just learned the definition of racism. They just, they're at the beginning. So they're taking, they need, a little bit more sort of hand holding. They're just in the beginning. That's fine. You do that, and you, like you said, Sister Maiysha, keep moving forward. That's what's important. That you are moving. The way I talk now and the confidence I bring to spaces and my sort of, rambunctiousness, I didn't start off this way. Right. I did not start off this way. It took, unfortunately, and it's sad to say, a lot of trauma, and then come to Jesus moments to be like, so, right. Take off your earrings and be like, look. Right.
Vaseline on the face.
Vaseline on the face. Like, right. Yeah. But it took a hot minute, and not everyone can do that. And that's okay. Right. That's okay, love. That's okay, fam. It's a spectrum.
That's
and wherever you're at is good enough for now. Right. When you're ready, you'll move to the next level, and it will be good enough then. And you do what you can do where you're at, giving your resources, your options, your availability, your et cetera, where you're at. God being with you, you are powerful in your own space. It is the great both and. It's not or.
That's right. Because the truth is, you don't know how you're impacting. You don't even know how you're impacting someone wherever you are on the spectrum, right? That's the truth. The truth is, like, when you're teaching your kids or your kids are teaching your kids, they're teaching this is generational. Like, there's wide and there's deep. And so you don't know when you're in there teaching your child something, how deep that's going to go, because they're going to learn it and they're going to teach their friends, and their friends are going to teach their children, and you're going deep.
That's right. Yeah. Isn't that something? You don't even know how deep you're going. That is right. Oh my God, you just really said it. And you reminded me of a parable about the ripple that, we're not here to like make a tie. Each individual may not make a tie. Some individuals may, but we just need to add our own little ripple.
Ripples.
As we're adding our ripple, somebody else is adding their ripple, another person adding their ripple. Before you know it, there's a huge tide. But when you see a tide, it wasn't most of the time, not saying they're not powerful people that make tides,
yes,
but most of the time, that tide is just accumulation of the little ripples that each person just donated into like the tide bank, I say.
That's right.
And so that's why, again, there's nothing, and this is for those listeners out there talking about, well, what can I do? I'm just a hairdresser. I don't have a job. I'm disabled. I'm a single mom. I'm a single dad. I'm just a construction. Honey, you raising those kids the way you're raising them, the things you're imparting into their lives, or you're in the neighborhood and you just see a little child in the neighborhood and you just speak life into them. You don't know anything that the quote unquote little. It's not really little, like I said, in significance, but maybe the scale of it is little. You don't know how deep, like you said, Sister Maiysha, how deep you're really like you're establishing roots. You're planting seeds that are gonna have real deep roots, and what will grow because of the little that you imparted into people. And so you are so right. And the other thing too is this, regardless of whether you have children, have other people in your life, just living your life as a role model.
Yes.
You don't know who's watching you.
Right.
Because bet you people are watching.
Absolutely.
If people are watching and they are learning and they are taking notes and they are emulating. Because unfortunately, we live in a world where folks are needing that now more than ever.
Absolutely.
Well, how can we be? What does love look like? What does kindness look like? What does generosity look like? What fighting for justice look like? What does being grateful look like? And so you role modeling that in your different, like at work, at church, or at synagogue, or wherever you got mosque, you know, or in the grocery store, for goodness sake, you know, wherever you're at, someone is watching and learning and being grateful for you.
That's right.
So we all have impact. We all do. I can tell you, and I end on this thought, I can tell you the number of people who have just impacted into my life. I still remember now, there was a custodian at the medical school. I used to study in the cafeteria because the building was open 24 hours. And I just like the space. It was just, cafeteria is just open space. So you could study in the library, it was too confining for me. And then you could study in the labs, it's too confined. I love the open space, the expanse of the cafeteria, and I'll be there. And he'll come in at night to clean and everything. In the morning, he'll see me with my head on the desk and spit, slobber all over the table from sleeping, from studying all night. And he will go into the cafeteria where the food is at and bring little cereal boxes and milk for me to make breakfast. Yes. Wow. Sometimes if I wanted to go to the gym, I was in school and parking is a nightmare. He'll be like, okay, I'll drop you off. And he'll just drop. This was an older man. There was no, people say, oh, he liked you. And nope, nothing. Right. He just wanted to encourage me. And he would just encourage. He would just be like, here, sis, keep going. And this is one reason I stay in Detroit. That is a city that knows how to encourage people. Wow. Like, just random folk. Sometimes I remember getting pulled over. I don't know. I think I ran a red light or something silly because I was running late to class. Right. Police pulled me over. Of course, a brother. What you doing? Oh man, I'm running late to class. Where you at, Wayne? I'm at this medical. You're a medical. You going there to be a doctor? All right, since be encouraged now, but don't you be running no red lights. No tickets, nothing. That's a city that knows how to encourage, their own. People at the DMV. Girl, what you do? Oh, you're a student. Oh, medical, you're gonna be a doctor. All right, well, you be encouraged. Be encouraged, girl. Keep your head up. You know how. Don't let them white folks tell you nothing different. You're great. You're brilliant. We need you. Yes, we need you. Don't go nowhere. Yes. We need you. We need more of us in this coat. You know, and folks in the DMV, random folk. Look, homeless folk. Homeless people be on the street. You walk by in your white coat, they be like, "All right, sis, we see you."
Be encouraged.
Be encouraged. Okay, keep your head up. Don't worry about it. You keep your dollar, girl. You need it.
Detroit represent.
Detroit represent. I ain't got no home, but listen, I'm out here and I just want you to succeed. For me. Okay, so no, it's great, and I just love our community for that, and just the encouragement. But I'm saying all those people planted seeds in my life. So when it was hard, when it was tough, I would remember randomly each and every single one of them and be like, they said, be encouraged. And if they believed in me, they saw something in me to
Right.
believe in. I can see something in me to believe in. And no
Yes.
matter how tough it is, this too shall pass,
Yes.
and we're going to be all right.
Yes.
And of course, all the Black people, and we're many, but we were a nice handful in the School of Medicine, and the Black doctors who were practicing, the attendings, who
Yes.
will look out for us and see you in the hallway and be like, how you do? Okay, this is my number, this is my email, call me, this is my pager, page me if you need something. That constant, that power of community, and then the joy of seeing different examples of what you could be. You didn't have to be one thing, and that takes us back to that whole that rejection of rigidity and binarism. It's only this or that.
Right.
No, but that there's power in the both end. There's power in fluidity to navigate, right, and to pivot, so that you have freedom inside of that. I was exposed to all of that in the city by these amazing Black medical students and doctors, but just the whole community. Period.
Yes. And the interesting thing about that is they were all ripples.
They
and
were
now
all
here
ripples,
they're all ripples. They
You
were
brought
all
up the
ripples.
metaphor.
And now here we have this amazing tidal force with us here today. This amazing tidal force. I mean, like, true story. The people listening don't even realize the kind of ripple that they are when they're at the grocery store line at the checkout, and the young sister or the brother at the checkout is working, and how you doing today? How's work today? And they find out they're in college, and what they say, be encouraged, right?
Be encouraged, sis. Be encouraged, brother.
Be encouraged, brother. Be
You're
encouraged.
doing good. You look good doing
right.
this, and you look good what you're about to go into doing next. You're all right. Encouraged. That's right.
That's right.
Oh, you gave me goosebumps. Wow. Now I'm going to sit with that one, what you just said. I love how you break things down, but that's so true. Thank you. And you too. And you too, sis. Absolutely. And everyone listening, you too. You too. You're a tidal force.
A tidal
make
force.
Other tidal forces, honey.
Right.
Yes.
And remember that there are still ripples that can pour into you. And I think sometimes when we get to a certain point, sometimes we get to this, the bay is calm sometimes, and that's okay. And when you're in that space where you're seeking inspiration, remember that community, they are the ripple. Whatever they have to contribute, they're contributing the ripple, and then you're rippling back, and together, like you said, I just love the metaphor of the ripple, right? It's just so powerful when we think about all the ways that people are rippling into us that we don't always get. We don't always recognize as ripples, right? We just hear some things pass through us, but we have to remember that anything anyone says that is empowering or that gives us that nice warm feeling, it's part of the ripple. And you want to take that in and allow it to contribute to the tide of movement of wherever you're going in your purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh my God. Like you just like bust forth like 1,200 ideas. But I think it's 4 things that came up. One is when you said one is compliments, right? So we need to be better about receiving this ripple of blessings. Okay, these ripples of blessings, these blessing ripples.
Yes.
When people come up to you and tell you, wow, sis, even if it's like shoes, look at them shoes, you go with them shoes. I see you shoes. You say thank you, you pose with them shoes. Okay.
That's right.
Or whether it's, I love your smile, or thank you, you're such a great listener. Or wow, like I remember this random one. We were in a conference space. This, of course, was pre-COVID, literally. And it was confusing where to find where we needed to go. And I was just trying to find where I needed to go, just walking. And some white lady was walking behind me. I turned around and she's like, oh, don't mind me. I'm following you. You look like a leader. So I'm following where you're going. And I sure did hope I led us out of the maze into, I don't know if clearly I'm here. So I led us out somehow, I think.
Right.
But I remember that comment. I remember she said, you look like a leader, so I'm following you. You look like you can get us out of this maze.
Right.
You know, I could have very easy. Now, what are we often conditioned to do, sis? Oh, no, I ain't no leader.
Right. Exactly.
We start to reject, like, oh, no,
this whole thing. Oh, no,
not me. We reject all these blessings that I put in our lives, right? It's like, no, stop that. Say, yes, I receive it. Amen. Now let's ask God to help both of us get out of this phase.
Yes.
Okay. Whatever I can do to contribute to the solution, I'm do that, but add my whatever gifting I have upon my life towards that. And I encourage you to do the same, but I receive that. Amen. Like we have to be better. You know, you're beautiful, sis. Oh, no, me, this little, I love your shirt. Oh, this old thing. No, amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's another thing. Look, here's another thing we do.
Yes.
We deflect the compliment with another compliment rather than receiving a compliment, right? So it's, oh, sis, you're beautiful. Oh, and so are you.
And so are you.
And so are you. And the thing is, yes, return the compliment, but not before you receive the one given to you.
Yes.
That is one thing I myself work on, right? Like, oh, you are, look, like recognizes, you know, like I deflect with the compliment.
Amen. I do it too.
Right. We learn to do that.
We learn to do that.
Yes. And so we got to remember.
Sis, where do you think it's coming from? I want to know where you think it's coming from. What is it about? What is the conditioning? What is the messaging that we've internalized where it is difficult for us to receive compliments and blessings? We got to either minimize it, outright reject it, or deflect it right back. What is the conditioning? I want to know why we do that. What is the conditioning that allows us to normalize that behavior, and why it's so difficult for us to receive blessings given unto us in the form of compliments or otherwise? I'm curious what you think about that.
You know, I think that there's a background conversation that when we acknowledge ourselves or allow ourselves to be acknowledged, it leaks arrogance or conceitedness, right? And there's this conversation, well, don't be conceited, don't be arrogant, when really you can just acknowledge and recognize the gifts that you have or receive the compliments that you're getting as so, right? And so there are various ways that, you know, some people will say thank you and put their head down, or some people will deflect with the compliment, or some people will deflect with the oh, no, or self-deprecate. There are various flavors of that deflection. And I think the flavor of deflection depends on what's been modeled to you.
Yes, right? That part.
It's what's been modeled to you, right? If you're a person who is a giver of compliments to yourself, and then you receive the compliment, it may be automatic to deflect with another compliment. Because see, I'm a person who loves acknowledging other people.
Yes.
Right. And I can get that you're that way as well, right? Yes. I can get the energy of that. Yes. And so it's easy for me to deflect a compliment with a compliment because I love giving acknowledgement.
Yes.
Rather than sitting with them being like, thank you. And then returning the acknowledgement.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And what I think we've kind of gotten wrong is we've conflated confidence and esteem with arrogance and conceitedness.
Absolutely.
And I love what you said about the role model. Oh, doesn't it always come down to that? What have we modeled? Well, I mean, what have we seen modeled and therefore internalized, right?
Absolutely.
And the truth of the matter is that we're supposed to reflect, how will I say, the acknowledgement, awareness of other people's greatness and awesomeness is supposed to be a reflection of the greatness and awesomeness that we see in ourselves.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
It's out of that we now pour out to others. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So you need to know your own greatness and our awesomeness and power and strength and beauty and all those things. And it's knowing that and knowing the God that gifted that into you, that you then pour into other people. I say, as I know myself to be divine and awesome and great and beautiful and wonderful, I see the same in you, sis. I see the same in you, brother. I see the same in you, family, right?
Right.
And it's that reflection. And then when they do the same unto you, you receive it.
That's right. Fully.
Yes, go ahead, sis. You were going to say.
Oh no, I was just co-signing,
Amen.
fully.
Fully, yeah, you receive that. Say yes. It's supposed to sit in your spirit. It's supposed to agree with what you already know about yourself, and you need to take a second for your spirit to receive it. I say yes, because we
Yes.
need that reaffirmation. Oftentimes we do, because we are Black in this world. We're Black in an anti-Black world, so
Right.
we need that reaffirmation, that reminder,
That's right.
and then we sit with that, and then say thank you.
That's
Then
right.
we express gratitude. Thank you for that.
That's right.
Thank you for
Preach.
affirming what I know in my spirit about myself. Amen.
Amen.
And I see the same in you.
That's right.
And it's so, that is just powerful. And then now you have these two charged up spirits.
Yes.
Going into the world to do good things. And that, I feel, that is community. That is the tidal force that you're talking about, right? That is community. And the last thought, actually more than a few came up, but the other one I'll just reference that came up while you were speaking, sis, those powerful words, is this idea that we need to practice more intentional reflection.
Yes.
Because like you said, when you said about like, sometimes we don't even know or recognize the ripples of blessings that are coming into our lives, by what people say or what have you, or the little giftings they do for us. We don't really appreciate it because we're so busy being busy. Frankly, right? We're so busy internally. Our brains are going, a million miles a minute. We are moving a million miles a minute, and we don't take time. And I just want to encourage folks, if you don't already practice like quiet time, meditation, and prayer, it's one thing to pray, and that prayer is powerful, but take a few moments of the time to just be quiet and listen and receive. It's that thing about receiving. It seems to be the theme that keeps coming up now. But take time to reflect. Hey, what was the most wonderful thing that happened today? What were some of the wonderful things that happened today? What is the thing that one person said? That's interesting that they said that. Is it true? Like, spend time to just reflect on your day, on your week, on your month, on the past few years. Yes, painful things may come up, but you would notice that even more beautiful, amazing things come up. I take time to reflect. That's why I still remember this amazing custodian. I will always remember him for the rest of my life, because as I take time to think about what all had to happen for me to, and I love that you asked that question of me, what all had to happen. Think about your journey, right? And I engage in reflective practice all the time, but it's like thinking what all had to happen for me to be where I am. Yes, Almighty God in mercy and in favor, absolutely. I have amazing parents. I have a wonderful support community. I was raised to believe certain things about myself that are powerful and great, and about the people I come from that are powerful and great. And they're different things that have come into my life. But the truth of the matter is, other people, the things people said to me about myself, because for a long time I didn't even know who I was. It was people that said, Ijeoma, you're a wonderful communicator. Ijeoma, you are a great storyteller. Ijeoma, I love the way you listen.
Yes,
so
you
funny.
are.
Thank you. And said all these things. And initially I'll be shy and I'll hide my face. I said, don't tell me that about myself. I don't want to look at myself and all those things. But as I got to learn and mature and grow, I was like, no, this is we out here thinking God's going to talk to us in a burning bush or strike us with lightning. He talks to us even through the baby that says, Mommy, I love you.
That's right. That's right.
He talks to us through all kinds of means. So we got to open. That's why you got to open your ears and receive it, because that could be God reminding you of how he made you and for what he made you. Don't stand there and take that insult, take abuse, take any treatment less than what you deserve, because honey, you are royalty. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that through the neighbor, through the grocery person, through the post office person, through your pastor, through your imam, through a stranger that walked by and just, I used to get folks, because, I love all this, my African clothes and everything.
Right.
And I remember there was a time I was younger and slimmer and sexier then, but that's okay. I'm still sexy now, but let's acknowledge.
I was like, look, let's
something to you.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
But I would have folk come up and just be like, are you a celebrity? And just compliment me and walk away. They didn't want nothing. They didn't ask for my number, nothing. And I'll be like, what you mean by that? and it's just the way you carry yourself. And then of course your unique style.
That's
And
right.
everybody listening has a unique style. There's a way you carry yourself.
Mhm.
You are a celebrity, honey, even if it's in just your own world. Yes, you are.
Yes.
Because things are created twice. They're first created in our imagination, and then they're created in reality. Before you
Listen.
see it out, it's got to be in your
Listen.
mind. So, honey, if you're a celebrity in your mind, in your world, you are a celebrity, honey. That's your reality.
Right.
And I recognize you, and I bow to your awesomeness,
That's
okay?
right.
Because
That's
you
right.
have your style, you have the way you carry yourself. And
Mhm.
sometimes people will come up and just tell you that. Receive that as a blessing from God to remind you about who you are, and then go about your day being amazing, and then feed into the ripples of other people's lives as well. We got to do that too.
That's right.
It's all together.
Girl, we did. So
I know
first of all,
it's 6 hours later. It's 6 hours later.
I know I mean, you know, like we get like do the like freeze frame. 8 hours later, we're still coming. Because me and you, boy, just the energy. And you know, the thing I love, and I think it's a good place to pause, but I have to laugh because you know, offline what we originally said we were going to talk about, we ain't even touched on, but this was even better conversation. This was
all right.
this is why I love doing this podcast, because you know, connecting with the amazingness of spirit and energy of people like you is just, and I'm leaving the conversation hype, like so hype, you know.
Me too, sis.
I think that at the end of the day, we have to recognize the ripples that are in our lives. We have to, as community, recognize ourselves as ripples, as community, right? And look at all the ways that we chop up the tide rather than allow the tide to grow, right? And so I think that could be a whole other conversation, because you know, this is like part 1 of part 10 for me and you.
25. Okay.
Right. So immediately after we conclude this, I would like you to make sure that you schedule a part 2, because I think this really is another conversation to be had about why we resist letting go, why we resist the ripple, you know, all of the limiting beliefs and things that come up, not just individually, but in the community, in the, like limiting beliefs culturally and community that have us chop up the tide so that we cannot be the biggest force that we could be to elevate, you know. And so I think that's probably our next conversations. And we still got to get to this code fluidity, which we were going to talk about today, but we had an even better conversation as far as I'm concerned.
I think the spirit had a different, you know, agenda.
Exactly.
And I think somebody needed to hear what we talked about. And I think the first 2 people is you and I. We needed to hear what we talked about first of all.
That's right. Look, I am spirit-led, just like you, sister. You know, I did not resist that. I'm spirit-led, and whatever comes up is what needs to come up, because we are vessels. Amen. And this is purpose. This is purpose-driven conversation. So I want to make sure people know how to follow you if they want to reach out to you for the consulting that you do. Let the audience know how they can follow you.
Oh, thank you. So you can reach out to me on my email, which is ijeoma.opara@gmail.com. I'll spell that for you. IJEOMA Nodim is NNODIM Opara OPARA. So that's my full name. No space, just the whole thing. ijeoma.opara@gmail.com. An easier way is just to follow me on Twitter, and then you can, like, you know, message me on Twitter or Instagram. And it's at Nodim. That's at INN as in Nancy, OD as in David, IM as in Mary, at I Nodim at sorry, that's it. That's the handle. So and that's Twitter and IG, and then we can like connect off of there. But yeah, I look forward to reaching y'all and having a wonderful conversation and growing together and building a tidal force. Sis, we need to trademark tidal force, honey.
Tidal force.
Blessings.
That's right. Well, we will have all of your information in the show notes. So if you want to reach out and follow you, that they can do that. I want to thank you for this conversation, the beginning of many.
Yes.
And you all, please go follow Dr. Ijeoma Opara. I mean, she is a force, and I look forward to co-moderating some rooms in Clubhouse with you. We've been talking about that. So go and follow Dr. Ijeoma, and you guys, thanks for listening today. Without you all, there is no podcast. Please leave a comment or a review and let people know how impactful this was for you, so that the people coming behind you know that they can be transformed inside of these conversations as well. So with that said, you all have a great rest of the day, a great rest of the week. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the next episode. Namaste.
Namaste.